You are somebody looking for an answer to this question of Google versus Bing, or maybe Yahoo or one of these other search engines. Maybe you are running a business, or maybe you have been working within a business and they're trying to decide that for themselves. So you've gone ahead and Googled it maybe, or you've Binged it, or whatever you've done, and you're trying to find answers. So in this video, we're going to cover that question. My name is Max Sinclair. I'm the founder of Snowball Creations. I run videos like this every other Wednesday normally, roughly. I try to do my best. And ultimately we answer questions around paid advertising and also generally marketing more broadly, the whole kind of startup world, that kind of stuff. So if you enjoy that kind of thing, please do like and subscribe, as every single video has told you to do. I'd really appreciate it. So let's set the scene firstly. So just imagine the scale. That's really important here because it's radically different. There is Google, then there's Bing, and then there's a few different ones across Asia, and then there's Yahoo. That's the kind of like major networks that we're talking about here when you think about search. But it's not, say, like your supermarket chains where each different supermarket has maybe 20%. It's not an oligopoly. This is realistically a monopoly. Whatever Google tells the entire world and manages to convince politicians to agree on, they are in a monopoly, really. They are at, it's around, this depends on different websites you're talking about and how you phrase it, but it's around 80 to 90% of the market they own. So this is a huge ownership. Like this massive stake is why when I talked about this in the video, I said you Googled something. Googling is the way that you describe, how you try and learn new information altogether nowadays. So that's the first thing to point out. It's around 80 to 90% of the entire market is owned just by Google. And then if you look towards the second place, or not generally this is second place again, depending on what you look at. Bing is close to them. Again, this varies between 2.5% to around maybe like 7-8% in some different scenarios. Is how many of the searches each day go through Bing instead of Google. So this is a tiny fraction, like a 20th of Google. Or another way to think about it, which really like sums it up well, 85 billion searches per day go through Google, whereas around 800 to 900 million go through Bing. So this is really important to remember when you're trying to decide which one to start with. This doesn't necessarily mean that one or the other is correct or not, but it's one of the things that I think about the most, because the really big reason why I think it's better to go with one versus the other is that your goal with paid advertising is to find your kind of most niche audience you possibly can. So the people, if you're trying to sell eco toothbrushes, you want to find some awesome hippies. You're trying to sell ski boots, you need to find some skiers. And so the larger the entire audience is, the more likely you are to have your kind of micro niche within that, and a larger number of that micro niche. So as we run paid ads for people, we build up more and more data, we build up more and more conversion data, we get more and more sales coming through the system. We start with maybe a £2,000 a month budget, we got to 4,000, 6,000, 8,000. All of this builds up more and more data, more and more conversions. And then what Google can do is it can go out to this massive 85 billion searches a day and find more people that look exactly like that person that just converted for you. So when we do some smart bidding strategies like maximize conversions or target CPA, it has way more space to run around and find people exactly like you. Whereas Bing is trying to find, let's say we have someone who's a skier who's also vegan because you sell vegan ski boots or something. Well, there's only going to be maybe, 1,000 people, for example, in the Bing network. And just by the definition that they're 20 times larger, you're going to have 20 times 1,000, 20,000 as an easy example. So the scale allows for you to stay much tighter and more narrow in your targeting. So that's the main point here. This is why, to cut to it, I prefer Google. We run with Google Ads. But let's now get into another couple examples where actually Bing might win out. So Bing or Yahoo as well, because Yahoo is not too far behind Bing actually. It's probably about half of Bing, but it's still worth considering. So Bing or Yahoo are really good in two major kind of niche cases. The first is older demographics. So Bing realistically is still a success because people that get a Windows laptop still get Bing as their browser. So Google is the browser of choice for the majority of the world. Google Chrome does not have as much of a ownership of the market like the Google search engine does. I think it's around 30 to 40% possibly off the top of my head. But ultimately with Microsoft, if you buy any kind of non-Apple thing, you're very likely to have Bing as the automatic search engine. So most of the older demographics in particular are the kinds of people that don't think about this. They're still kind of like, to be mean about it, more of the dinosaur of the internet world. And so they don't think about whether there might be a better browser, or they've not been told about Google Chrome or Firefox or one of these others. So they just choose to stay with Edge. Sorry, Edge is the browser, and then Bing is the search engine within Edge, and the rest of the entire Windows kind of interface. So this is how Microsoft has kept Bing to be solid, and it's actually, again, this varies depending on what kind of metric you're looking at, but it is actually still growing nowadays. It's been relatively level, but it has grown over the last year, and this is the major reason. So if you're trying to target especially the older demographics, then Bing may have a little bit more of a kind of push behind it, as a little bit more of your user base there. The other really big opportunity here is if you're just trying to scale. So we have many clients who are doing really well with Google Ads. We're making them great returns, but we've just started to run out of the search terms, more searches to be showing in front of. We've risen from say 2K budget to 4K to 6K, and our search impression share is really starting to max out actually. And we can tell that if we were just going to try and bid on other keywords, those are just not good quality keywords, or maybe we were going to just start to spend far too much, so it's going to become less and less profitable because we were just trying to push out too far beyond what the market had available to us. So this is when Bing can be useful. So we do run Bing ads, but it's more of a supplementary channel. So we would max out your search Google ads, and then we would move into Bing. So these are the two reasons why I would still potentially go with Bing or even Yahoo, is if you're particularly after an especially older demographic, sometimes that can be a good idea. Or if you are really just trying to go above and beyond Google ads because you've maxed it out as far as you can, then Bing can be a powerful thing. But altogether, Google, I love it still. It's extremely powerful. It's one of the most kind of like consistently successful ad platforms that we use alongside TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, all the rest. We still love Google Ads as one of our favorites to work within. So I would recommend it above any of the others. And if you have more questions, please do feel free to reach out. I'm always available. My name is Max Sinclair, as I say. I run a paid ads agency called Snowball Creations, which is here for you if you need a hand. And there's videos, like I say, every other Wednesday, so please do subscribe. And otherwise, I will see you at the next Wednesday.